On this Friday night, fears over a U.S. crackdown on free speech. Late-night hosts call out Jimmy Kimmel's disappearance from the airwaves.
We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show.
As backlash mounts against broadcasters and the Trump administration. Kneecapped from entering Canada. The Irish hip-hop group banned by the federal government over allegations of amplifying political violence. Plus, missing for months. The latest search efforts and the mysterious disappearance of 2 Nova Scotia children. And shared fortunes.
Oh, there was lots of screaming and yelling and yahoo.
The life-changing lottery win divided among 14 winners in Quebec.
Global National, reporting tonight, Ann Gaviola.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. There is significant blowback in the U.S. after President Donald Trump suggested TV networks that air unfavorable coverage of him should lose their broadcast licenses. The comments come after ABC pulled its flagship late-night show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, off the air. Supporters of Kimmel argue it's an attack on free speech and media censorship. Jackson Prosco has our top story tonight.
But with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch.
Late-night hosts rallied around Jimmy Kimmel.
That is blatant censorship, and it always starts small.
They shared their fears about free speech in America.
To be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on, and no one does.
It's the all-new government-approved Daily Show.
And they mocked any suggestion that the White House should control their message.
We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show.
Off the airwaves, few are laughing about the suspension of Kimmel, which came after explicit threats from the Trump administration to pull the licenses of the ABC affiliates that aired his show.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
With Kimmel off the air, the Trump-appointed head of the U.S. broadcast regulator warns there's more to come.
I don't think this is the last shoe to drop. This is a massive shift that's taking place in the media ecosystem, and I think the consequences are going to continue to flow.
Trump went further, openly suggesting he could shut down TV stations that air coverage he views as too critical.
They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. See, I think that's really illegal, personally. You're getting free airwaves from the United States government.
This is the government doing the censoring, not the American public reacting negatively.
Kimmel stays!
What so alarms free speech advocates is that few media corporations are willing to fight to protect their rights, wary of upsetting Trump as they eye multi-billion-dollar mergers that need government approval.
They chose to give in and protect their long-term business interests. So this, in the end, this is not about legal issues. This is about bullying.
When Trump is challenged, the courts have generally taken a dim view of any attempt to silence the press. Late Friday, a judge dismissed Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times, calling the legal filing improper. The judge accused the president of using court documents to, quote, rage against an adversary. Ann?
Jackson Prosco in Washington. Thank you. U.S. President Trump spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping today, and the leaders made progress on a TikTok deal. Trump says it involves well-known American investors.
A lot of people want it. The young people of this country want it badly. The parents of those young people want it badly. And so we were able to work out a deal with China. And it's a very good deal for us. I hope it's a good deal for them.
Trump says the conversation with Xi lasted almost 2 hours, and the next step is to sign the deal. Prime Minister Mark Carney has wrapped up his quick trip to Mexico City. He was there to strengthen ties with one big North American partner as Canada confronts a new relationship with the other, the U.S. A new Ipsos poll exclusive to Global News says 51% of Canadians approve of how the federal government is managing relations. But as David Akin reports, people aren't feeling the trust with their southern neighbours.
Prime Minister Mark Carney toured a rail yard here where Canadian wheat is coming off a Canadian train.
Look at that Pride of Canada right there.
It's a photo op the PMO set up to underline the economic connection between Canada and Mexico, a connection now more important because of Canada's changed relationship with the United States.
Canadians feel that their relationship with the United States has changed in a fundamental way, and not just with Donald Trump.
Indeed, in a poll released Friday exclusively to Global News, Ipsos found that 60% of Canadians agreed with the statement, "We can never trust the Americans the same way again."
They're looking for Canada to create something that protects our own sovereignty within a North American context and make sure that we're able to survive on this part of the continent that we live on as an independent country.
That's the public opinion context for soon-to-begin three-way negotiations to renew the North American Trade Agreement. Both the U.S. and Mexico have formally started public consultations ahead of those negotiations, and on Friday, Canada announced it will do the same.
We're looking for very specific suggestions from Canadian industry and Canadian workers in terms of what we might advance at the bargaining or at the review table with the United States.
Government officials, diplomats, and experts are unanimous on this point. There is no way that Canada can replace the trade that it does with the United States. But the point of foreign trips like this one for Prime Minister Carney, well, it's all about growing, adding, and diversifying. Anne.
David Akin in Mexico. Thanks. In Mexico City, Foreign Affairs Minister David Akin said Canada's plan to recognize Palestine as a sovereign state next week is extremely important because the viability of a two-state solution is eroding. But she says Canada will withhold full normalization of relations until there are greater reforms within the Palestinian Authority.
Normalization is a process, and the process of normalization involves increases in diplomatic relationships. It involves opening embassies. It involves opening consulates. It involves ensuring that there are processes for transfer of citizens between the two states at issue. So, as you can see, one is binary, one is discretionary.
Akin says Canada's conditions include Hamas laying down its weapons, the return of hostages, and for Hamas to have no role in the governance of Palestine. It's been almost 2 years since Hamas launched its deadly attack on Israel, and the violence and deteriorating situation in Gaza triggered pro-Palestinian protests around the world, including Canada. Now, McGill University is asking a judge to permanently restrict protests on its campus. But the move has led to pushback, not just from students, but also the university's own unions. Mike Armstrong is following the developments in Montreal. Mike?
Well, and the McGill campus is fairly quiet today, but the university's nervous that could change next month. Lawyers for the university have spent 2 days about 2 kilometers from campus at the Montreal courthouse arguing for an injunction. It's asking a judge to ban harassment, intimidation, threats, and any disrupting of classes. It also wants a ban on blocking access to buildings or areas around the campus. Now, this is what McGill wants to avoid. After the October 7th attack and Israel's response, pro-Palestinian protests disrupted classes and events on the campus for months. McGill says they created a climate of fear and tension for students and staff. The university's interim deputy provost testified Thursday. She told the judge the campus is scared of what could come next. Now, the injunction request targets a group with no official status at McGill, the Students for Palestinian Honor and Resistance, but it would apply wider than that. Several groups are fighting it in court, including the McGill Student Association and several union groups. One of their arguments is that who it targets isn't defined.
McGill is going after a group that has no legal existence, nor can they identify a member of it.
The unions also say an injunction would impact on their rights. In the case of a labor dispute, for example, they say a blanket injunction would give the university the power to ban something as simple as setting up a picket line. Anne?
Mike Armstrong in Montreal, thank you. The Canadian government has banned an Irish hip-hop group from entering the country. Kneecap was supposed to perform in Toronto and Vancouver next month, but this morning the Parliamentary Secretary for Combating Crime accused the band of amplifying political violence and supporting terrorist groups, including Hezbollah and Hamas. The band denies that, and as Eric Sorensen reports, the dispute raises concerns about freedom of speech.
They are wildly popular in Ireland, promoting Irish rights and language, but kneecap have become increasingly controversial. At one concert last year, a group member allegedly waved a Hezbollah flag, a group deemed a terrorist organization in the UK. Liam Og O'Hennig, who goes by Mokara, is facing terrorism-related charges. He said outside court last month the charges are politically motivated.
This is a story about Palestine and us as a distraction from the real story. We know, unfortunately, this story will end up in the media today while Israel commits genocide.
Now, Ottawa has barred the group from entering this country for what the government calls endorsing violence.
The members of kneecap have been deemed ineligible to enter Canada. The group have amplified political violence and publicly displayed support for terrorist organizations such as Hezbollah and Hamas.
Kneecap have said they don't condone violence. In a statement, the group called the parliamentary secretary's comments wholly untrue and deeply malicious, vowing to initiate legal action and calling on its fans in Canada to stand up and speak out. But the Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs says barring the band members from Canada was the right decision.
Hate and support for terrorism, waving a Hezbollah flag has no place in Canada, not in our streets, not on our campuses, and definitely not on stage.
Israel's military campaign in Gaza has intensified political debate in many countries. An authority on free speech says Ottawa's decision raises questions for the band members and for Canadians who want to hear them.
As soon as someone is prevented from entering the country in order to participate in a performance or to engage in some kind of speech, then free speech, freedom of expression interests are raised, and the audience has freedom of expression, interest, or right to hear what others might want to say to them.
Concert dates in the U.S. have also been canceled. The controversy could prompt more interest in kneecap, but for now, Canadians will not be able to see them perform in this country. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Today, the federal government tabled long-promised legislation aimed at combating hate crime. The Justice Minister rolled out 4 new criminal offenses, targeting the promotion of hate symbols and to protect places of worship, schools, and community centers. But as Taria Isri reports, civil liberties organizations are concerned the bill could stifle legitimate protest.
Just this week, police in Halifax charged a man after he allegedly spray-painted a swastika on a synagogue.
The prevalence of hate crimes in this country that steal those freedoms are something that should shock the conscience of every Canadian.
That's why the federal government says it's time to crack down against a rising tide of hate. The Justice Minister unveiled new criminal offenses, including maliciously promoting terror or hate symbols, like a swastika, obstructing or intimidating people from entering places used for worship, and the creation of a standalone hate crime charge. This would add additional penalties to existing crimes.
In addition to these new offenses, we are taking certain steps that will make it easier for law enforcement to take action.
In 2021, a Muslim family was targeted and killed in the London van attack. More recently, there have been threats against mosques, a shooting at a Jewish school, synagogues defaced, and last month, a suspected anti-Semitic attack on an elderly woman at an Ottawa grocery store.
It has been very difficult for the Jewish community, specifically in the last 2 years. It is the right message to be sending by the table of this bill.
But given the highly charged political climate, there are questions about whether the new bill could stifle freedom of expression.
We also refuse the assumptions that pro-Palestinian protests are basically meant to intimidate the Jewish community.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association also has concerns.
What we see is a risk of stigmatizing and criminalizing otherwise peaceful protesters.
There were nearly 5,000 hate crimes reported to police in Canada last year, nearly doubling since 2020. Anne?
Taria Isri in Montreal, thank you. NATO is facing a new test of its readiness to respond if Russia's war expands. Estonia says 3 Russian fighter jets entered its airspace without permission. Estonia, a member of NATO, claims the incursion lasted about 12 minutes. NATO says it responded immediately and intercepted the aircraft. Estonia's foreign minister says it's the 5th time this year Russia has violated its airspace. The European Union calls it a dangerous provocation. 10 days ago, NATO scrambled fighter jets to shoot down Russian drones over Poland. Coming up, calling in the canine specialists. The RCMP confirm cadaver dogs will be used in the search for Jack and Lily, the Nova Scotia siblings missing since May. It's been more than 4 months since two young siblings, Jack and Lily Sullivan, went missing in Nova Scotia. Today, the RCMP gave their first update on the case in more than a month, announcing they're bringing in dogs specially trained to detect human remains. Heidi Petracek is in Halifax with more on what this means to the investigation. Heidi?
The Nova Scotia RCMP held a virtual availability so journalists could ask their experts about these dogs and their abilities. But they gave very few specifics on exactly when and where the dogs will be used in the search for Lily and Jack Sullivan, except to say it will be in the coming days and weeks.
Way to go.
Hundreds of searchers combed the dense woods for Lily and Jack Sullivan in the early days. For the first time, the Nova Scotia RCMP is bringing in dogs trained in finding human remains, known as cadaver dogs, although it also insists.
At this time, we don't have any definitive information to support that the children are deceased.
6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack were reported missing May 2nd from their home in the small community of Lansdowne Station, more than 100 kilometres from Halifax. Police have said there's no evidence of abduction, and court documents indicate polygraph tests on the siblings' parents suggested truthful answers. So the use of the dogs is yet another tool.
Where's it at? Come on, search them out. To incorporate a human's remains detection, you would have to believe that decomposition is taking place. Any investigation would have to direct you or point you into areas of highest probability.
They say the dogs can detect remains buried several feet underground, underwater, even among ashes. This retired investigator says police know more than they can say.
They know something that is worth looking at, but the question is, where is it and what part of the community are they searching for?
The news offers some hope for the children's paternal grandmother.
I want them home more than I want to know what happened. That can come afterwards. That I need them found. I need to know.
2 dogs and their handlers will be coming to the province from out west to do this work. The Nova Scotia RCMP says it recognizes people want to know what happened to Lily and Jack, but emphasize this investigation is going to take time and patience. Anne.
Heidi Petracek, thank you. Fully manufactured in Canada ahead, the COVID vaccine now heading out to pharmacies across the country. Alberta is reportedly preparing to invoke the Charter's notwithstanding clause on 3 laws affecting transgender people. According to a government document obtained by the Canadian press, Premier Danielle Smith directed officials to invoke the clause this fall. It would reportedly apply to rules around pronouns at school, a transgender sports ban, and restrictions on gender-affirming health care. The notwithstanding clause allows governments to override some sections of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms for up to 5 years. The country's first made-in-Canada COVID-19 shot is being shipped to provinces and territories. Moderna says it produced the mRNA vaccine at its facility in Quebec and filled syringes in Ontario. Canadians are encouraged to consult their local health authorities for information on eligibility and availability. Moderna's updated vaccine was approved by Health Canada in August. Next, early retirement. Travel and big purchases in the cards for some Quebec residents who are divvying up a whopping $50 million prize. Canada's women's rugby team got off to a strong start, scoring just 7 minutes into their semifinals match at the World Cup. And they didn't look back from there. They beat the defending champions from New Zealand 34-19. It'll be Canada's first final since 2014. They'll play either France or the host team from England next Saturday. A tiny fishing village in northeastern Quebec may never be the same. 14 locals won a share of a $50 million Lotto Max jackpot. And the windfall may change the town, but as Dan Spector reports, the townsfolk say it won't change them.
Assembled in a tent beside the Salmon Bay Scallop Farm in St. Paul's River, Quebec, some of the most unlikely millionaires you'll ever meet. Their lives altered in an instant by one winning ticket.
For the good, you know.
For 18 years, a group of 14 has been playing the Lotto Max at the only general store in the tiny English-speaking community. On September 6th, they won $50 million, $3.5 million each. Word traveled as fast as the wind.
Oh, there was lots of screaming and yelling and yahoo. We just stood around and talked and laughed and cried and done it all.
They retired from the fish plant.
Loretta Cabot-Griffin threw her hairnet in the trash. She's in her 70s and has been working at the local fish processing plant for more than 35 years. She actually had to be convinced to leave work.
My husband came after me, and he told me to, come on, he said, you're going home.
St. Paul's River is the type of place where everyone knows each other.
Maybe the history is going to be like that, before the millionaires and then after the millionaires.
Many of the approximately 200 residents are of Irish descent and have worked lifetimes in the fishing industry and other tough jobs. Some of the new millionaires are seniors who didn't really see retirement on the horizon until now.
I didn't know if we had enough to retire with, so this might change things.
Sure, people are planning to make some material upgrades.
I got a vehicle picked out.
But everyone seems to be focused on helping those close to them.
Help my children and my husband's children.
I got two daughters, 4 grandkids, and 2 great-grandkids, so I'll make them happy.
Though a lot of people insist they won't change much, what's clear is that this town will never be the same again. Dan Spector, Global News, St. Paul's River, Quebec.
And that is Global National for this Friday. I'm Ann Gaviola. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Burlington, Ontario, Lake Echo, Nova Scotia, and New Westminster, BC. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you here again tomorrow.